See, sin doesn't just separate us from God. It does that. Sin separates us from God, but it also hardens our heart. It's kind of like a callus. In high school, I used to do Olympic weightlifting. I'm sure you can tell. But I used to do Olympic weightlifting, and I got into it, and the first few times I did like hang cleans, that was the worst. It ripped my fingers up right here, ripped it to shreds. It was bleeding one time all over my hand. I did not like it, and it hurt really, really bad. But as the weeks and the months went by, I started to develop these calluses on my hand, and then I could care less. I didn't feel anything in those spots ever because it was so hard and so calloused. And that is the most dangerous thing when it comes to sin, because when we don't deal with our sin and we continue in it, we get used to it, right? The callus develops and we lose all sensitivity to it, and then we find ourselves not being bothered by it anymore. We're not treating it as the serious threat that it is. And before you know it, like I said, you're going to stop being bothered by it, just like how I was with the Olympic weightlifting thing, right? But even to take it into a personal sense, I look at my life and the sin that watching porn and getting and super angry and having like these outbursts of rage and all these things. And when that first started up, I would feel really bad about it. I'd be like, how could I ever do this? And I'd go talk to somebody and I'd be so sorry and all these things. But as time went on and I wasn't getting into my word and I was avoiding people that were going to point me back to the word, I was doing all those things. And as time went on, I kept on. Then I started feeling less bad about it. And I was trapped in those things. And it took me finally listening to what God says and letting people in and listening to the superior voice rather than mine. And so, lost my place. That wasn't in my notes. But that's how sin works, right? It little by little hardens our hearts. Right? And that's where we don't want to be. Look in Proverbs 4:23. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything that you do flows from it. This verse makes me think a lot about sports. You think about a sports game. I'm a basketball guy, so we're going to talk basketball. So into the game, envision this. Into the game, there's 10 seconds left. Your favorite team has the ball. You're down by 2. You need a 3-point shot. Your team calls a timeout. They're calling up a play in the huddle for who? Who do you think they're calling up the play for? He thinks it's him. It's not. It's the best player on the team. The best player on the team, the guy with 30 points, the guy who's been hitting shot after shot after shot. That's who the play is going to. And everybody in the gym knows it's going to that guy. And it seems as if everyone in the gym knows it's going to that guy except the other team, right? The other team is also in a timeout. They have time to talk about who are we going to make sure doesn't get the ball. The guy with 45 points maybe? And yet we come out of the timeout, they run their play, and that guy who they drew the play up for is wide open. He hits the shot, they win, and they're like, how could we let this happen? It's because you weren't guarding the most important thing. So often, you see in those sports games that everyone in the gym knows it's going to that guy and then if somehow he's wide open, and you're like, how does that even happen? But the same thing happens in our lives, right, with our heart. It says, guard your heart, for everything that you do flows from it. And I just want everybody to know, and myself to know, that everything that we do isn't good. And which is why there's the warning to guard your heart. And when we get caught up in the same thing over and over and over, when I got caught up in the same thing over and over and over, it's because I wasn't guarding the most important player, which is our heart, because everything I do flows from that. And so maybe I should start giving more attention to that thing.